Imagine a day bathed in the soft glow of a perfect golden hour. The flowers are arranged with mathematical precision, the lighting is calibrated to evoke a dream, and the guests look on with expressions of pure, unadulterated joy, as if they are witnessing the opening chapter of a timeless fairy tale. The vows are delivered with such clarity and poise that they feel almost cinematic, and the applause follows every beat of the ceremony like a rehearsed symphony. To the outside observer, this is happily ever after in its final, polished form. But if you look closer, past the silk and the smiles, at the person standing at the altar, you might see something different in their eyes. There is a specific, haunting silence that takes root in the mind of someone about to bind their life to another whom they do not truly love. This isn't a peaceful silence born of contentment. It is a heavy, pressurized suppression. It is the sound of a rational mind, armed with spreadsheets and societal expectations, physically overriding the screams of a heart that knows it is making a mistake. We are raised on a specific cultural mythology. Love leads to marriage, and marriage is the destination of happiness. But for millions, marriage isn't the culmination of passion. It is a strategic retreat into stability, security, and the avoidance of a ticking clock. To understand why a self-aware, intelligent person would commit to a lifetime of lukewarm connection, we must first dismantle the modern myth that love has always been the foundation of marriage. Historically, for most of human civilization, marriage was a survival contract, a diplomatic alliance, or a way to protect lineage and land. The idea that you must feel a soul-deep spark for your spouse is a relatively modern luxury, emerging only after life became safer, longer, and more individualistic. Yet, even in the year 2026, those ancient primal survival instincts remain hardwired into our nervous systems. When the world feels unpredictable, or the pressure of being left behind becomes too great, our brains stop optimizing for joy and start minimizing for risk. This is where we encounter anuptophobia, the profound, often unconscious fear of staying single. It is the invisible force that turns a romantic search into a job interview. You stop looking for a soulmate and begin looking for a candidate, someone who is stable, loyal, and has a respectable career. You convince yourself that safe is better than vibrant, especially if your early life was marked by chaos, poverty, or emotional neglect. For many, a partner isn't a love story, they are a fortress. Our romantic choices are often dictated by a blueprint we didn't even know we were drawing, our attachment style. This internal map, formed in our earliest years, defines what love feels like and, more importantly, what it costs to keep it. Many people don't marry without love because they are shallow. They do it because their nervous system has been trained to confuse security with affection. If you have an anxious attachment style, love often feels like a chase, a performance, or an earned prize. When you meet someone consistent and available, it feels like salvation, not because of desire, but because they alleviate the pain of uncertainty. Conversely, those with an avoidant attachment style may unconsciously choose a partner they don't fully love because a lukewarm connection feels safe. It allows for proximity without the terrifying, soul-bearing intimacy that triggers their flight response. In these cases, the choice to settle is a subconscious defense mechanism designed to keep the heart under lock and key while checking the box of social conformity. There is also the value alignment trap, a sophisticated form of self-deception that high-functioning people often fall into. You meet someone who shares your politics, your financial goals, and your vision for a family. You are incredibly compatible on paper, you work as a seamless team, you rarely fight, and your families approve of the match. The mind begins to negotiate with the heart, arguing that passion is fleeting and logic is forever. You convince yourself that love will grow in the fertile soil of shared values, but often it doesn't. It simply sits there, static and cold. This is the moment where maturity is mistaken for emotional numbness. You call it a sensible decision, but your body knows the truth. You are building a life with a partner you respect, but you are not building a life with a partner you want. This disconnect creates a low-grade, persistent anxiety, the first chapter of a long emotional exile where you have everything you thought you wanted, yet you feel like a ghost in your own home. Once the wedding photos are framed and the honeymoon tan has faded, reality begins to exert its heavy pressure. For the person who married without love, the first psychological battle is not with their partner, but with the cognitive dissonance in their own head. This is the mental agony of holding two contradictory truths. I am a good person who keeps my promises, and I feel nothing when my spouse touches me. To resolve this tension, the brain builds elaborate defenses. You tell yourself that real love is just duty, that chemistry is a Hollywood lie, and that this hollow feeling is just what adulthood feels like. But the body is an honest witness. It keeps the score for every suppressed emotion. This results in a state of functional depression. You show up for work, you care for the children, and you maintain the household, but the world has lost its color. You aren't sad enough to seek help, but you aren't alive enough to feel joy. You live in a constant state of gray, where your nervous system is either stuck in a freeze response or simmering with a persistent, unexplained irritability toward your partner. This leads to the most painful form of isolation, loneliness within a marriage. Most people fear being alone, but the deepest darkness is found in being alone together, the loneliness of the unshared self. When you are next to someone who doesn't see your true essence, you begin to redact pieces of your identity to fit the narrow, transactional space the relationship provides. Your conversations become focused entirely on logistics, bills, groceries, schedules, and social obligations. There is no play, no deep vulnerability, and no us outside of the business of running a life. This emotional deprivation is a form of chronic stress. Your mind might be able to rationalize it, but your nervous system registers the relationship as a desert. Over time, you might stop trusting your own emotional signals entirely, believing that your desire for connection is a sign of being ungrateful or broken. You shrink your world to match the size of your marriage, and in doing so, you slowly disappear. To survive this emotional starvation, the psyche instinctively searches for substitutes. This is where displacement occurs. Some people pour 110% of their life force into their careers, seeking the dopamine hit of professional success to replace the lack of intimacy at home. Others turn their children into the absolute center of their emotional universe, a phenomenon known as parentification, where the child is subconsciously tasked with providing the meaning and companionship the spouse cannot. Then there is seeking, the retreat into fantasy. This might look like an obsession with romance novels, a work spouse who provides the only real conversation of the day, or a constant scanning of social media for old flames. These aren't necessarily signs of a bad person. They are signs of a starving person. People use these substitutes like emotional oxygen, trying to get just enough air to stay in a marriage that is suffocating them. They are trying to feel alive without blowing up the stability they worked so hard to build. The final tragedy of the loveless marriage is often the very reason people stay: the children. We tell ourselves we are staying for their sake, but children are highly sensitive barometers of emotional truth. They don't just learn about love from what we say, they learn from the climate of our home. If the house is emotionally cold or transactional, they grow up believing that love is something you tolerate, not something you enjoy. They learn that silence is the baseline for intimacy and that self-sacrifice is the price of stability. Eventually, every person in this situation reaches a fork in the road. You can choose the companionate rebuild, where you and your partner honestly face the lack of spark and build a life of radical friendship. You can stay in silent hell, where resentment rots into contempt and the home becomes toxic. Or you can leave with dignity, acknowledging that while the partner was good, the match was wrong. The hardest truth to face is that life is short, and it is far better to be alone and authentic than to spend your decades together and invisible.